Our two goals for today are to describe how miracles convey the inbreaking of the kingdom and how parables convey the inbreaking of the kingdom. That's an unusual word, inbreaking. I'd like to introduce it by evoking the image of someone breaking into your house. It's something sudden. It's something sometimes not welcome. And it changes your life. It changes how you perceive things. When you came to Loyola Academy the first time, that was an inbreaking. There was something different about your life from grade school. So along with table fellowship, Jesus uses both miracles and parables as a way to announce the kingdom, as a way to sort of sometimes shock people into the realization that he is the kingdom, that his life, his ministry, his death and resurrection are all about the kingdom. So let's talk about both of these things, parables and miracles. First, let's talk about a parable. In your freshman year, you likely learned that a parable is a story with a religious message. And that's true. But let's go a little deeper. It is a story with a religious teaching, but it also helps stir the imagination. If we go back again to Ignatius's use of the scriptures, especially the Gospels, the parables allow you to think all kinds of things, to feel and to imagine things. So, for instance, the parable of the Good Samaritan. You imagine a guy being mugged and what that would be like, how painful that would be, how distressing that would be. And then you imagine a priest walking past him, people and other people of great stature. Then you imagine a Samaritan, someone despised, and he takes him, he pours oil. He carries him to the inn. He takes care of him at the inn. He pays the innkeeper for any expenses associated with the man's recuperation. All these things are meant to help stir your imagination, help you to creatively think about what's happening. But most of the parables actually also have paradoxes within them. A paradox is the reverse, a reversal of what you'd expect. So you have these, again, Good Samaritan, upright people, righteous people, passing this poor man by. Then you have a Samaritan, someone whom the Jews despise. To try to put this in a modern idiom, imagine if Jesus was around today and you had a Catholic priest pass someone sick who's dying on the street, pass him by. Then let's say you have someone who is considered a very good person and they pass him by as well. And then someone from ISIS or someone from the Taliban picks up an American who's sick, who's wounded, and cares for him. That would shock us today. So imagine that's how the Jews felt back then, using historical criticism. Jews could not even say it was a Samaritan who helped the man. All they could say was, well, that guy who helped the guy who was mugged, he's the one who showed compassion. So parables often will jar our expectations, and that way they are an inbreaking of the kingdom. Jesus is giving us sort of a subversive message, one that might not always feel comfortable, but it always stirs the imagination and is meant to lead us to a different way to view reality, a different way to interact with people, and thus it restores communion, because Jesus is saying, doesn't matter if he was a Samaritan. It wouldn't matter if he was a member of ISIS. If he shows compassion, he is living the kingdom because he is in communion with those who are supposed to be his enemies. Then we get to miracles. Now, the Greek word for miracle is dynamis. And you can see the word dynamite in there. It means a powerful working, something explosive. And when Jesus did miracles, they were meant, again, to break in the kingdom, to sort of shatter the expectations. Because when someone's sick, you don't expect them to get well like that. You wouldn't expect someone to walk on water. And so we classify miracles into two types. There are nature miracles and healing miracles. So Jesus walking on water, the transfiguration where Jesus' clothes, his face, his appearance turned dazzlingly white. That's a nature miracle. When Jesus heals a blind person or a leper, that would be a healing miracle. Now, the miracles were largely meant not to be some sort of magical display. They were meant to show that Jesus is the messenger of God, to sort of give a proof to it, to sort of get people to notice that the kingdom is at hand, the kingdom is with us. I'd like you to go now to your textbook, take a pause, and I want you to read in the textbook about signs, because the Gospel of John does not use the word miracle. The Gospel of John uses the word signs. So please go to your book, pages 140 and 142, and I'm going to embed a question about signs and how they are different from miracles. Miracles break the kingdom into our reality because they restore wholeness. They restore communion. Remember, with the fall, with the sin of Adam and Eve, that original sin, we were broken within ourselves and broken with others. Sickness is an example of this. When you're sick, do you relate well to others? Or do you, like me, get cranky, get moody, get out of sorts? We can't function. We can't relate. And so imagine someone who's blind. Imagine someone who has leprosy, where their body is literally falling apart. Their toes, their fingers, their nose just dissolves. So they were broken within themselves. Disease is a sign of that brokenness that we have biologically. But it was also a brokenness with others. Lepers were the most obvious case. Lepers literally had to move outside the city, and the Old Testament said they would have to ring a bell to announce that they were coming, and they'd have to cry out, "Leper, leper," so that anyone who was healthy could get out of the way. But therefore, lepers lived a very lonely existence. They went off and died pretty much on their own. Same thing, though, for other diseases. The blind, the crippled. They were often seen as having done something wrong. You or maybe your parents did something wrong, and God is punishing you. And because of that, you're not quite pure. You're not quite right before God. So Jesus, when he cures a blind person, yes, is doing a miracle, but restoring their wholeness in themselves. They can see now and hear. All their functions are back. But they can also now rejoin the community. So, for instance, when Jesus cures the 10 people, he tells them right away, now go to the priest in the temple and offer the sacrifice that's prescribed. That is Jesus' way of telling them you can now rejoin the prayer life, the ritual life of the Jewish community. So we see in table fellowship, where Jesus eats and drinks and laughs and shares the lives, the stories of those who are the outcasts. So Jesus too gives us stories that help us to understand what the kingdom is all about, and then miracles that restore us, that restore others to full life, full participation in his love.